Alright, so we are going to continue with our tutorial on the Daraja integration with Flutter using Django API. So we are going to set up Daraja so that it can get our payment requests. So we will start by installing Django REST framework. Remember our last session here in settings, we did just install, or we did also install the REST frameworks. So here we just want to create a view function that will handle the M-Pesa. So in M-Pesa, you just pull up the doc so that you can get the gist of what M-Pesa entails. Just a moment. Developer.safaricom.com. I'm doing it off screen, so I'll pull it when it's ready. Alright, so here is the documentation for M-Pesa, and we want to do the customer to business. API. So the customer to business API, customer to business, this one is called M-Pesa Express. So this is what we are going to use. Let me log in. First so that we can view the resource. Alright, so we want to simulate the M-Pesa Express. So the M-Pesa Express require this business shortcode, password, timestamp, a transaction type, amount, party A, party B, a phone number, callback, account reference, transaction description. So all this we are going to write code for. Encrypting this password. This is used to encrypt the request, and it should be the 64. We are going to also to create this function so that we will just be calling it. So you can test, of course, the keys you can get from here. So I think we're going to use this one. No, we're just going to use the accommodation, this one. You can use yours. I'll make sure I delete this one after I've finished with the recordings. Alright, so let's begin by creating these utility functions. So we're going to create a file. Just a moment. We are going to create a file that help us generate access token over here. So we have to create a file here called access token.py. So here we will create a function that gets us the token to authenticate with the Daraja API to get the token, and we are going to test how that token will work in our, if it is coming out clearly. Alright, so let's define a function. Generate underscore access generate access underscore token. So the function doesn't have a parameter, so we will use some built-in function from Python. Let's import them first. We will import requests, that one. That's also going to import from request. We are also going to call its HTTP basic hop. So from requests dot out, we're going to import HTTP basic hop, that one. And we're also going to import, remember, all the access token and the access token URL. We are going to place it in our Django settings over here, and also the consumer and the consumer key and the consumer secret. We're also going to create it on the. We're also going to place it on the settings file. So let's get response equals to request dot get. We're going to get the tokens. So from the Daraja API getting the authentication, let me just pull up the documentation again. To get the token, go back here. For authorization, you need to perform. The description says it's a basic auth over HTTPS. This is a basic binary strings of the app's consumer key and the consumer secret. So this is what we are going to do. We want to encrypt the consumer key and the consumer secret. So if we go back to here, so let's import settings first from django.conf. Not that one, django.conf. Import settings. This one, the one with small letters. So in our settings, we are going to define those globals. So let me just copy them, but I'll copy them from the already finished tutorial. Okay, let me copy them from the already finished tutorial. So we'll have that one. Just a moment, I pull it from here. Okay, so just paste and explain. So this is the consumer key, the consumer secret, the Lipa and M-Pesa pass key. This one is from the documentation of Safaricom. You will get yours. They show how to get it. The access token URL is this one, and I'll explain the rest as we continue. Let's generate the access token. So here, this generate access token function, we are going to, of course, the request get passing the URL and the authentication protocol we are going to use, which is the basic over there. So from the URL is in settings dot access token URL, copy that access token URL. Then auth type will use the basic auth, the HTTP basic auth, and we pass in our consumer key and consumer secret. As per the docs of Safaricom, it says that we should pass a base64 encoded of these in order to get the access token. So it should not a basic. This is a base64 encoded string of the app consumer and the grant type. The grant traditional grant type is supported, but it's under the parameter query. So that one is over here in the setting.conf. Is over here. Grant type is that it's a query param. Alright, so that one is done. It's done behind the scene by the Safaricom guys. Alright, so when we get the access token, we want to turn it into JSON. So JSON response. It's just a variable JSON. Let's call response equals to res dot JSON. It's like we are changing it to JSON. Then we are going to get the access token key from the params. So I'm going to name it access. Holy shit! I'm going to name it access. That's called token. Access token is equals to JSON response. This one response. I'm missing an S here. JSON response. Alright, this one response. Then we access the key. Of access token. So this function helps us to generate the access token from the Safaricom. So we can go and import this function in our views and test it. So I think I'm just going to test it using this our function that we define later here. So I'm going to instantiate the class, not instantiation actually, but I'm going to get the function and get the access token. So I'm going to say, oh, we must first import the function. So from dot import generate it will start. So from the file name, let's import the function. From the file name is access token. Let's import the function generate access token. So yeah, we are very much right. So we are going to space access token. What the heck happened? Did something happen? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So see it? It's acting weird anyway. Now access. Oh, an auto import over there. So access underscore token. Access, we are storing into that variable, and we're going to call this function generate access token. Generate access token, and in order for us to see it, we are just going to return it over here to see it. So access token. So let's go and test this. Let's pull the terminal and pull up the virtual environments list. I think install virtual environment back here in V. Source, let's activate the virtual environment. Source, tutorial in V, bin activate CD to M-Pesa Daraja that. Let's clear the console list. Alright, so Python manage.py run server. So that's what the heck happened. Alright, we didn't install requests, so that's what we're going to do now. So pip install requests. I think we should use request version 2.22.0. So let's import the request module and we run the server. I think everything should be cool. Let's go and test this in the route. It was just at the slash. So let's move to the 128. We get the access token. If it generates, so it's saying now what would be the problem? Maybe translating this again. Never translate this side. Alright. So why is it the access token is now? I think maybe the function is not doing the right thing, but we are going to see, just troubleshoot as time goes. Right, the video is getting long. The video is getting too long. Generate access token. Generate access token. Just troubleshoot and I see I'm doing it off screen. Right, so if we come back here, let's see what want to cross error. Oh, we didn't return. What the shit? Alright, let's return it. We didn't return. That's weird. Alright, so I think access server I'm just coming, but that's why we didn't return it. That's the reason so you are not seeing it. So if we reload, we should have communicated. So this access token is the token that is required for each and every transaction that is made through the Daraja API. So after generating access tokens, to move to the docs again, to the M-Pesa Express, this one. M-Pesa Express, we are going to create a function that generate a password. A password is a base64 encrypted combination of shortcode, lipa na M-Pesa, passkey, and timestamp. The timestamp is the current timestamp in a siren format. This one over here: year, month, date, hours, seconds, minute each. So let's do this to generate the password. This is a function to generate the passwords. Right, the function to generate the password. So alright, generate password. So let's create a file called encode base64 encode underscore base64. So this is the file that we need to use to generate the password. So we're going to import base64, import base64, and that is that. Yeah. That we're going to define a function. Define generate password. Generate, because it's a password that we're generating, so we need to call it generically that generate underscore password. So it's a function that get a type of, it takes in a date, the current date time as a parameter. So we're going to say, let's say formatted date. Let's say date. Okay, date. Right. So what are we going to decrypt from the docs? It says a base64 encoded of this over here. Alright, so having known that, so we are going to save data in a variable. So data underscore to underscore encode. It's a lipa na M-Pesa. I think that one is from the configuration settings file. So from Django.com, bot settings, the small settings. So it is lipa na M-Pesa passkey. This one over here. Lipa na M-Pesa passkey settings. Settings dot bar1 concatenate with formatted time, this date over here. That one also with, let me just copy this one. I'm done for the typing. So this one should be the short code. So the short code will be provided for development in the docs. You can just go to your docs and let me just show you where you get it. So I'm using this one. So the shortcut is this one. You are just going to copy it from, yeah, just going to copy it from this one over here, and let's move the function here, then paste it. So So just the reason I have placed in settings, just in case you change these functions, or Safaricom you now want to use live data, but we will do something here depending on the type of debug over here. If the debug is not true, that is false, meaning you're running in a production environment, you shouldn't use these URLs. It should be from now, instead of sandbox, it should be API. And child directory, and this one also will be your real pay bill number. Alright, and this one I'll show you all this. Let's just generate the password first. Okay, the encoded string, so we now build an encoded underscore string. The encoded string is equals to base64, the function that we imported, dot b64. We had b64. That's funny. So b64 encode, we are going to b64 encode. So what are we going to encode? We are going to encode data to encode this one over here, dot, yes, you must call encode anyway. You must call the encode function in order to encode it. Alright, after encoding it, which format do we want to place it to, so that it can be read on the other side? So the recorded password, underscore password is equals to encoded string, this one over here, this encoded string. Now we are now decoding it such that it can be read in a standard format, like UTF-8 one, you know. You can read more about UTF encode, and then we return the decoded password. Alright, so we use one just to test everything here. So let's see what is it. Alright, so we are going to create a utility file just for formatting that time. You remember from the docs we had timestamp over here. We want to format this time, so we want to create a function that formats this time in this manner. Alright, so let's move back. It's going to be a utility function. Let's create a file called utils.py, and we import datetime from datetime datetime import datetime. So we call it define. We want to convert time, so how do we name this function? Let me say timestamp conversion, some kind of that. So time stamp, the current timestamp, that is conversion, timestamp conversion. So timestamp conversion, we first must get the current time, which is not formatted, the unformatted time, underscore time is equals to datetime dot now. Datetime, oh shit, let us do datetime dot now. So this now. So we have, then we want to format that time to in form of a string that we are going to define according to the Safaricom documentation. So formatted underscore time should be now the unformatted time, and we pass in a function called string from time. This function is built-in function, and the criteria that we are going to use to format this time is based on the Safaricom documentation. the year, month, all this one. So in Python we write that one in terms of, let me just get it from my already done off screen. That one. So it's form of year, month, day, hours, minutes, and seconds. And we just want to return this time. Then we return the time. Oh, formatted time. Right. So we're also going to import this function into our views here. We're going to import util and also generate password, right? So let's move to imports. Let's move to import. So we are going to import. So from what am I tapping to? From .utils import conversion. Timestamp conversion. Also from base64 encode. From this file encode base64. From .encode base64 import password something. So generate this one. Alright, so let's just test it here. So I'm going to call it formatted time, formatted underscore time equals timestamp conversion. We're going to get the current timestamp, that is the current timestamp. That is not formatted time. So timestamp conversion, I went around that function. Of course it will return the formatted time. The formatted time we are going to pass into our generate password function that is going to let me just write it first so that I can explain. So call it decoded password. I'm called decoded underscore password equals to generate password. Generate password requires a date. That's the parameter that it requires. So the formatted, we're going to get the current timestamp, and then in order to get the password, we're going to generate it by passing the current time to this function called generate password. What generate password does behind the scene is it's just base64 encoding of business short code, the Lipan and M-Pesa passkey, and the date that we passed in. That is coming as a parameter from the formatted time, the current time. So I can also call this one current timestamp if you like, but let me just call it like that. So in order to do that, just to see if we are generating it, we're just going to say decoded password, part 1 equals to that one. Let me just call it password. No, call it password. Let's just go and test it in our browser. Remember, it's our browser testing everything. So you have to get access token and also get the password. So here is our password. So this password is one time for getting a transaction, for making a transaction, a B2C transaction, not a B2C, a C2B transaction, that is. So we are done with that. So the next thing that we should do is to make a payment request. We want to now make a payment request. How do we make a payment request? So now there is when we want to define our function, our class-based function. This was just a test, but we want to do now the one that we can call from the endpoint in Flutter application in order to make the payment. So let's make a class here, class-based view, class make payment. So make payment. Okay. The make payment is, I'm going to use the API views just as like I've been using, because it allows me to control the flow of what I want. But there are also other, the API there are also many other views that you can use in order to accomplish this, but I like to show you because it allows me to customize everything the way I like it and the way it suits my need. Anyway, right, so so it's going to be a post request. So let's define a function post request. So it's going to take in self request is it not coming? Request. I'm lazy. Args and keyword args and keyword args and keyword arguments, and request that I'm going to assign a variable to get the amount and the amount to be paid and the phone number that was used during payment. That is coming from the docs here, from the Safaricom docs over here. The Safaricom docs over here. So it needs the following. It needs the phone number which you are going to be billed. This will probably be your phone number so that you can get the STK push from your phone number, and also phone number, phone number and the amount. Alright, so let's get the one from the request data. So request, what do you call it? Request data. Pretty weird to call it. Alright, so request data. The request data we're going to get from data request.data. Request.data. Request.data contains the data that have been made from any endpoint, so we can get those parameters. Alright, so we are going to get amount, and also we're going to get the phone number that was used during payments. So the amount we are going to get it from the so let's say just the amount, and also you want to request get the phone number. Phone underscore number. Alright, so now that we have phone number, we are going to create a function that is going to take care of making payments request to the Daraja endpoint. So very first, let's define that function down here. So define make underscore payment and make M-Pesa, that is to make payment. Make M-Pesa underscore payment underscore request make M-Pesa payment request. I want to type this function just to help me or to help whoever may be reading my code from somewhere. So self, I'm also going to define a return type for my function. So self, the amount I'm going to send to Safaricom API as a string, so it's a string. And also I'm going to say the phone also as a string, and the return type of this function is a dictionary. So it's a dictionary that is. So we made this over here. Let's just reuse this code anyway. It's what they just do weird. Alright, so that solve the indentation error. Alright, so here we are going to import request in order to make requests to payment here, import requests, that one. Alright, so we want to make a post request to Safaricom. It also has headers, so it's in the headers that we are going to make to place the access token. Yeah, so let me just pull in the request body to avoid too much typing. So right, so in the headers authorization for Safaricom is a bearer authorization, so we're just going to add it like this. So authorization is bearer of type, bearer, then space, get the access token, this one over here. Alright, the next thing is the request body, what is being sent to Safaricom. Then I'm also going to copy from my finished test, that one. So it's, let's go to the documentation and see first. It's just everything that is here: party A, party B, phone number, account reference, transaction type, callback URL, transaction type, and what we are generating programmatically, the current time. This one, current time. You know, it's changing. Have you realized it's changing? So that's why we get the current timestamp for that particular transaction. So let's move on. We're going to import the settings to avoid that. So local import, local imports up here. So no, that's not a local import. That's a framework import. So from Django.conf, import settings, that one. I think it has solved. So formatted time, this is the current time stamp. Formatted time, that one. Alright, so remember I didn't place the callback URL, but callback URL is the URL that Safaricom is going to send the transaction responses as either failed request or success. It depends on the status code that is going to come. So in order to view that, let me do this one off screen. I want to place I've already done one. So I want to place it off screen so that you don't see. Not that way, but I'm going to open it. Let me just bring what I'm going to write here. So that is it. It's a string. So I'm going to place that string here, the callback off screen, so that you don't hit my test. Let me just place why not? Let me just place it. So yeah, let me just place it. There's no need of bringing it off screen. So that I've placed it. If you don't see it, up to you. Actually it's not up to you anyway, because you will have one. Just place any valid URL over there, and it has to be an HTTPS URL. So let's move on. We are going to make the post request with the following parameters. We're going to make post request to the Safaricom endpoint with this. Just do. We want to post request to the API resource URL. The API resource URL is this one over here. The resource URL is this one. This one is you get them from Safaricom docs. I can also just use this one of mine for the time being, but I'm sure this one is yours. These two. Alright, so back to the views. then the payload, the body is the not the body, it's the request, this one over here, and also the headers that we defined over here. So when we get the response back, we are going to Safaricom return a response as a text. So we need to load that text in form of JSON and manipulate it so that we can return it to our API, right? So that is what we are going to do right now. So first we are going to change the string to a JSON format. We're going to change it to a JSON format. Right now I'm just copy pasting those on not import JSON. Import JSON. Let's import JSON, and also it's getting long. Should be 1 hour. I think it's almost some few minutes too, but let's continue. Now that we get this JSON, we get this JSON response, we can get the data from here. So let's move to the docs and see what is returned as when the response is success. So when the response is success, the Safaricom returns this parameter here, this one. When it's a success. So when it's a success, what do? We want to get this one show it was a success STK push to your phone number. So we want to get a way of getting, we want to find a way of extracting this one from the JSON that we have just made. We have just loaded here object string. So this is the string. I named it my string anyway. That's weird, wrong naming anyway. Okay, so the object string is the one that was loaded from JSON from my string text that is Safaricom. So you can also just take this one and place it here. No big deal. Alright, so we are going to extract each and every response from there. So just going to extract them down here and tab back, and also the response code also. So we're going to extract from this the object string, and we are going to find a way of returning them back as an API response and as an API response. Let's define your data. Define data equals to that one. So the data should only contain this 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that one. So so the data should contain those ones. To avoid too much typing. Alright. Then we return the data. Let's return the data. Not the time. Let's return the data. Alright, so we have defined a custom way to separate it from post here. So what we're going to do now is to call that function and perform it and we save it to a variable and then return it as a response to our API. Alright, so let's move on. So payment response data, let me call it payment response data. Payment response by self is within the class. So I'm using self.make. So the make response require amount. It first requires amount as a parameter. Amount, it's amount, and also phone as phone. Remember we made this, we structured this one over here from the parameter. Then also just return it as a response. Let's return response, capital letters, and return that one over here. The make payment process is done, so let's go to our URLs over here, import that function, duplicate this one down, and let's say it's now API. This is how you name your API, saying version 1, and it's lipa na mpesa underscore stk push, and it's linked from that one as view. So we are going to test this one in Postman. Yeah, we're going to test this one in Postman. So let me pull up my Postman. So that we can test it. What do you think? What do we do? Alright, so it's a post request. That is from where we define it. It's a post request. Let me just copy this one first, define mode there. Fond of copying anyway. Okay, we copy that. It's a post request defined by this post request and getting those data and that. So okay, the URL is this. Holy shit. What the heck is happening? Copy that. That one, and the body, it's a JSON format of the body is JSON, so it's a JSON of amount, say 1 bob. It should be a string anyway, because we define them as string. So then phone number, I'm going to use my phone number. So the phone number must start with 254 if you're a Kenyan. 254-797-32406. That's my personal phone number anyway. 54797324006. Then we are going to make the request and see if we can get the response back. Alright, and also see if we can get the STK push. Okay, let me just pull up Visa. So that I can place it side by side over here, so that you guys can see. You guys can see the STK push on my phone, Android phone. Alright, so let me pull up Visa, and connect it, view on device, Visa, reload later. So let's see it there. That's my phone over there. Do you like my desktop phone? It's cool anyway. Alright, so let's send the post request and see if it returns. It was 200, okay, and it's saying request accepts for processing, and let's wait for STK push from my phone. I think I'm going to do something in order for it to do that. I'm going to turn it to 3G and redo the test again. Okay, let's redo it. Holy shit, we did get it. Someone tried calling me anyway. So that is it. This is the STK push. Not too much notifications. Oh, this is it. This so you can place your pin, then you proceed with the transaction. What the heck happened? Oh shit, it trying to read something from Untitled. Okay, so let's test it again. So result success. There we go, we get the STK push. Alright then guys, so I think the tutorial is done. So the next time we are going to see how we can save the response that Safaricom sent us back. We are going to see what the Safaricom sent us back. So it's down here, the results. This is the result that is being sent to your callback URL. So this we are going, in the next tutorial we are going to see how we can do this. So see you till next time guys. Bye.